Channel, I'll tell you, there is excitement in the air in the eastern United States. We're talking about it could be the storm of the century for some of the big cities. We're looking at anywhere from 10 to 30 inches of snow.
That's right. And okay, see this here? It looks like what? Coffee?
It looks like
It looks like coffee, but
you have black gloves on.
I got black gloves on. Our first snowball here. We have got the snow coming down. Like you said, folks are so excited here at the Weather Channel. Everybody's like running outside. One of our forecasters, Mark Ressler, loves the snow. He walks to work this morning.
Okay, let's see it here. There it is.
What are you going to do with that?
I don't know.
Uh-oh. Anyway, we've got a lot of snow to talk about. In fact, let's get going, Melvin. Let's show them what we've seen already. Since the storm started on Friday afternoon, we have had anywhere from 6 inches to over a foot of snow. Let's show you the snow history since Friday afternoon, and you can see that the areas in white have seen upwards of a foot of snow. Looking at some of the tallies now, we're up to about 5 inches around Dulles right now, but we've had about 13 inches around Roanoke. We're up to about 3 inches around Baltimore, about an inch right now in Dover. Heavy snow from Wrightstown to Philly to Dover. And you know, blizzard warnings are in effect up and down the eastern seaboard. We're talking from Dulles up through Philly into New York City. We are going to be expecting 1 to 2 to 3 feet of snow. As Mark mentioned, it is the blizzard of the century for the major that was back in 1922. We saw 21 inches of snow at D.C. That could be threatened. Philly, you could be threatened because back in 1983, that was a big year for big snowstorms. Philly, you picked up 21 inches. All of these records could possibly be threatened. New York, I think, that could possibly be pushing it 24 hours, but certainly Baltimore, D.C., and Philly, we could be coming in with locally 1 to 2 feet of snow by the time all is said and done. There it is. Locally 1 to 3 feet, folks. We're talking about the mountains of West Virginia, right on through Virginia, up through Washington, D.C., Philly, Atlantic City, Sussex County, all the way up through Central Park, in through Manhattan, up on through Hartford, and eventually into Boston again. Sorry about the news, Boston, but it looks like you are also going to get hammered with snow again. So we didn't think the storm system would move right along. We thought maybe it would push off the coast and head out to sea, but the track is taking it right along the coastline, and then it will move out to sea. But it's enough. There's enough cold air in place. There's enough moisture to throw back, and we have got a storm on our hands. Unfortunately, we've got an ice storm on our hands through central parts of the Carolinas. Really freezing drizzle from Charlotte in through Fort Bragg, down on through Anderson and Greenville. We have had moderate snow here in northern parts of the Atlanta metro areas. We showed you with the snowball. The snow is coming down. Could easily pick up 1 to 2 inches of snow easily, even snowing back through northern parts of Alabama. Mark, I see you coming over here with that snowball. And here's our storm system right now. You can see that the energy, a lot of the energy is sitting here, moving up the shoreline. We've had a burst of snow in through Roanoke. That's where we saw the heavy snows. We're talking about showers and thunderstorms expected across parts of Florida. Hopefully we're not going to get any tornadic thunderstorms like we saw with our storm of the century several years ago. That would just be horrible. We've already seen enough of that. But certainly a mess is on our hands, and there's no doubt about it. Hopefully you got all of your supplies yesterday, because you're probably not going to get out. If you got to get out in New York, do it right now. Philly, right now. The roads are getting icy. As even coming into work here in Atlanta, I know that there was a period of freezing rain and sleet earlier. A lot of sleet hits the ground, gets it very ice-coated, and then the snow is coming in, even down around Anniston, Alabama, although you can see that you're sort of, that heavy band of precipitation is pushing on through. But then we are seeing some wraparound snows in through Evansville. Still some heavy snow warnings, snow advisories through Ohio, in through Kentucky. Can't repeat all the advisories because there's so many. So just do me a favor, read it at home. It'll give you all the details on what's going on in your local forecast. Right now there was a burst of heavier snow. It looks like heading towards Salisbury, up on through D.C., Baltimore, Philly. You've got some moderate snow coming in. New York, you're just starting to see some of the snow bands move in, and it will pick up definitely through the morning and early afternoon hours. That's when you're really going to see some of the heavy snow. So here's that one band moving through Richmond, all snow, Charlottesville, and in through Lynchburg. As I mentioned, we've had already upwards of a foot of snow here. Sleet, you can see the sleet by the darker green areas through the Piedmont, and winter weather advisories in effect through this area. It should stay all rain right along the coastline from Hatteras all the way down through Myrtle Beach and Charleston, but just inland, I think I've read some statements just west of 95 is ice. So stay home, folks. The weather is just horrid, and we don't want you to certainly be on the roadways when it's this bad. There's the back edge of the snow right now, but I think that once we get the colder air wrapping in, we will see a broad area of flurries coming back in from Paducah all the way back on through Birmingham. And with that all-important forecast, we turn to Mark.
All right, thank you, Jody, and it's time to check on your good. Flooding into the south, and oh my goodness, it's time to head down to the grocery store and pick up the Alka-Seltzer Plus. A lot of people feeling the bug these days. Boy, I'm glad I got a flu shot. As we check on the
Action News, AccuWeather Alert.
Good morning, everyone. It is slightly after 6:30 a.m. on this Sunday, January 7th, and we have all of the information you will need as the blizzard of 96 begins to roar through the Delaware Valley.
Are you ready for this?
Sure am.
We're here early and we'll stay on late, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a team of reporters covering the storm, as well as Cecily Tynan and AccuWeather. This storm was being predicted for the last couple of days, and it seems to be living up to its billing. Let's go outside to Cecily Tynan, who's got the very latest. Cecily.
Well, Dan, you're certainly right. This is going to be the big snowstorm of 96, probably the blizzard of 96 by tonight. If you're just waking up this morning looking outside, already a couple inches of snow on the ground. As you can see, the snow is still falling, but it's going to get heavier. The winds are going to be picking up. Tonight, we'll probably get the worst of it. Let's show you an action radar of the system right now. As you can see, all of Pennsylvania, all of New Jersey, all of Delaware, even parts of New York State already. It's snowing, and if you look down to the south, you can see some embedded thunderstorms, the yellow and the red, moving up into Virginia. Now, the storm system, the center, is still way down in Georgia, but the entire mid-Atlantic is getting some very heavy snow. And if we show you, in fact, what is snow and what's rain, we expect that most of this will be snow throughout the viewing area. There is a blizzard warning in effect for later today and tomorrow. Already a winter storm warning in effect across the entire Delaware Valley. We expect some very heavy snow accumulations. Then tonight, with winds picking up, could be gusting up to about 45 miles an hour. We'll get some blowing and drifting snow. That's the blizzard we're talking about. Also, if you live at the coast, be aware there is a coastal flood warning in effect for tonight and tomorrow. A good possibility during high tide tonight. Late tonight, there will be some tidal flooding at the back bays and the ocean front. The access roads to Barrier Island will probably be flooded out. And at the coast, a possibility of winds up to 55 miles an hour. So this is definitely a strong storm to contend with. If we move back to action radar and show you what's snow, we have a lot of very cold air in place. And as you can see, the only place that you move into a mixture of snow and rain is when you go down to southern Virginia and the Carolinas. As far as us, we will see snow throughout the day. Again, this morning, it's pretty much on the light side, but it will be getting heavier as the day goes on, and that means we are not talking about inches of snow anymore. We are talking about feet. When all is said and done, we will be looking at 1 to 2 feet of snow across most of the viewing area. Across extreme southern New Jersey, we have the possibility of a little less than that, but there could be upwards of 2 feet of snow. So tomorrow morning is when we're really going to be trying to dig out from the system. The storm originated down across the Gulf Coast. It continues to work up. Right now, as I mentioned, the center is still down in Georgia. So this means that it's going to be snowing throughout the day. Also tomorrow, I think we can show you the path of the storm. It began in the Gulf Coast. This is where it's getting all of its energy. A lot of moisture from that system as well, all being pulled up across the Gulf Coast. Then it's going to be tracking across the Delmarva Peninsula probably by tomorrow. Now that's when we expect the snow will finally be ending later on tomorrow. And the storm timetable will show you that we'll be expecting some snow throughout the day today. Then tonight is when the winds will really be picking up. This is when we expect the blizzard conditions to be kicking in. Winds up to about 55 miles an hour at the shore. Inland, probably about 45-mile-an-hour gusts. Then by tomorrow, the storm will probably begin to taper off. By tomorrow afternoon, we should be clearing out. But in the meantime, the blizzard of 96 is approaching. It's only going to get worse throughout the day. I'm Cecily Tynan reporting live at City Line. Back to you in the studio.
So, Cecily, just to re-emphasize, we've not even begun to see the worst of the storm yet. That's yet to come with these high winds.
Exactly. That's really when it's going to get worse. Winds in excess of 35 miles an hour for a 3-hour period will reduce the visibilities to less than a quarter mile. That means tonight probably won't even be safe to walk outside your door because you won't be able to see what's in front of you. So that's really when we expect the conditions will get a lot worse tonight in the early morning hours. So this is just the beginning. We have quite a bit more to come.
And Cecily, you just mentioned the safety issue. I mean, things could get really dangerous out there, and I guess people should really take this seriously.
This is one of those days you really just want to be a homebody. Even this morning when we just have a couple inches of snow on the ground, we have ice underneath from all the storm systems we've had earlier, a lot of ice even on the sidewalks, and you can't see it with the snow. Right now, looking around the City Line, a lot of cars are traveling very slowly. A good possibility later on today, the secondary roads, a lot of secondary roads just won't be passable, and even the main roads are going to be treacherous. So these are one of these days we've had a lot of warning on the storm system. Hopefully a lot of people have stocked up and are just ready to spend the day at home, and I'll be out in the storm, so no sense in anyone at home going outside.
All right, Cecily, and it's not just going to be a problem with the snow falling. With the winds combined with that, aren't we also going to have a problem with snow drifts as well?
Yes, exactly. Snow drifts could be up to 5 feet. We could get about 2 feet of snow, but again, later on tonight, winds up to about 45 miles an hour. And the winds are already beginning to pick up. Then, of course, we haven't even touched upon the wind chill factors. Tonight, wind chills down to about 20 degrees below zero. So this is really, I can't stress more that you really want to just stay inside. A good day to just stay inside, watch the news, or look out if you want to see the snow. Just stay inside because it's not going to be safe.
All right, some good advice, and you keep warm too. Thank you, Cecily. Now, several communities have already declared snow emergencies, including Philadelphia. Here's a look at the communities that have declared snow emergencies. In Bucks County, Newtown Township. In Chester County, Oxford Township. In Montgomery County, Cheltenham Township. In Delaware County, Media. And in Philadelphia, the entire city is under a snow emergency. And we will continue to update this list of snow emergencies as information becomes available. The snow emergency takes effect at 8 o'clock this morning within Philadelphia city limits. This means there will be no parking on streets marked with red and white snow emergency route signs. Not wanting to wait until the last minute, some people moved their cars yesterday.
It's going to be ticketed or towed. So
here's the scene from Sky 6 at Philadelphia International Airport. A U.S. Air spokesman says the carrier, based here, plans to reduce its operations today by about 600 flights. That's according to spokesman John Bronson in Arlington, Virginia. There are delays and cancellations from flights originating in cities where the storm hit earlier. United Airlines has canceled all flights into Dulles, Washington National, and Baltimore, Washington airports until at least 4 o'clock. Now, if you'd like to get the latest information on whether or not a flight is getting in or out from Philadelphia, here is the number to call. It's 1-800-PHL-GATE. That number again is 1-800-PHL-GATE. There's one thing you cannot say about the blizzard of 96, that it surprised us. AccuWeather has been watching the storm system organized for several days, and so have the people responsible for keeping the roads passable. 25,000 tons of salt is available to the 5 counties.
PennDOT, good morning, Joe. Joe, can you tell us what is the situation right now in the Delaware Valley with the roads?
Well, so far, everything's open. Our guys have been out there since like 4 o'clock this morning. I-95 in the school, everything's passable. They're out there plowing. It's just that the people got to watch. You know, it's going to get real windy out there sooner or later, like the girl just said, and it's going to be hard seeing. So far, we're doing good. We had no complaints. You know, no slippery conditions yet. So far, we're doing pretty good out there. Just the people got to take their time. They got to learn how to slow down, because you can't be doing 50, 55 on the interstates. They got to bring it down to at least 40 or lower.
Now, Joe, what is your plan of attack? I understand that typically when PennDOT goes out, you normally put salt down first and then you go out and plow. What's the reasoning for that?
Well, you get the layer of salt down. That helps get the road wet. And then when the traffic comes, the constant traffic makes like a mush, and then the water will wash it away. The snow will wash it away. But now what they're doing now, they're plowing first, because it's not really, you know, like I said, just starting. And they'll plow first, and then see how the conditions are. Depending on the conditions, the foreman and the assistants that have been out there, they'll know when to start salting. They'll be told, and the guys have been here long enough. They know. You know, our guys are pretty good. They know when to salt, when to plow. Right now, they're in a plowing position.
Now, you said that you already have crews out and they're busy getting whatever work done they can at this point. And we also understand that the worst of this storm is supposed to happen tonight into tomorrow morning. Will you be able to keep up with all of this snow?
Yeah, we'll be all right. Like I said, we got an early jump on it. Our men, they were rested like Saturday into Sunday, and they were here early this morning. They were out since, like I said, 3:30, 4 o'clock. Everybody's out there, and we got pretty used to this from the other storms. We're pretty good. We know what we're doing out here.
And I guess a big concern, and it's been a concern because of what happened in past years, do you have enough salt to tackle this problem? A couple of years ago, I know the city ran out of salt. What is the situation with that?
Well, we have salt. I don't know the exact tonnage. You would have to talk, you know, to somebody higher up than me. But like I said, we're pretty good with salt so far.
All right. Thank you very much. Joe Miola from PennDOT. Thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Bye.
Let's take a look now at some of the scenes from around the Delaware Valley as the storm began making its way here. It was about 2:30 this morning that the snow first began coming down pretty heavily in Chester County. This is a scene off Route 30 in Paoli, and it did not take long for the snow to begin piling up there. You can see there was pretty much the same story along the Schuylkill Expressway. These scenes are near 30th Street Station, where PennDOT crews began salting the roadway about 4 o'clock this morning. PennDOT in Pennsylvania, as you just heard, has 25,000 tons of salt available for the 5-county region. Enough, they said earlier, to get them through a pretty good storm. Of course, those secondary roads, as you just heard Joe Miola say, will be the usual main problem. It will take a while to scoop the snow there, if at all, since crews will be concentrating on the main arteries of travel. Crews at 30th Street Station were busy at work early this morning, clearing the stuff off the sidewalks. 30th Street Station, by the way, remains open, and reports are that trains were running this morning. You can also bet it must have been pretty tough for this homeless man to be pushing his cart with all his personal belongings through the snow.
Now, the Garden State could also take a real pounding from Mother Nature. New Jersey could get anywhere from 6 inches to 2 feet of snow, depending on how things shape up. Now, let's go live to the Jersey Shore to Jersey Shore correspondent Joe Torres. Joe, you're standing by live out there in Atlantic City. What's the situation there?
Well, snow at the shore, Flora. That's not a combination that you hear too often, but we're right outside Brighton Park here on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Bally's Park Place behind me, the sands just to my left, as you, for those of you familiar with the casinos here on the boardwalk at the Jersey Shore. Live here, the snow accumulations right here in Atlantic City. I'd say 1 to 2 feet as you look at the few people braving the storm on the boardwalk. The plows, they went by here just a few minutes ago. Yes, one of the most famous streets in the world does get plowed, even though it's made of wood. They went by about 20 minutes ago and then have been going back and forth up and down the 4 miles of boardwalk here at the shore. A little further inland in Atlantic County, when I poked my head out the window about 4 o'clock this morning, there was about 2 to 4 inches of snow, and I take it as you go further west, the accumulations will pick up more and more. But the snow, very light, very powdery, and as you can see in this picture, blown around very, very much. We're going to keep a close eye on drifts, because that's where it's going to be the biggest accumulation as this wind continues to blow. Driving over the bridges this morning, especially to and from the barrier islands on those access roads, my oh my, very, very scary. The bridges are quite high, the wind goes on top and the bottom, the snow is still there, and the ice will certainly accumulate as the day goes on. So if you have to go to a barrier island, whether you're working at the casinos or going home or running an errand, whatever it may be, take it very, very slow over the bridges, especially those bridges to and from the barrier islands. The roads, for the most part, they remain snow-covered. I saw plows this morning. I was up at 4 a.m., saw them in Hamilton Township, Egg Harbor Township. They're up here at the shore. We'll have some pictures for you later from some plows in Atlantic City as well as in Ventnor also. Mother Nature, right now, she's got the upper hand on us. We're also going to keep an eye on tidal flooding. That's not the concern right now, but as this storm progresses and we get later and later in the day, that is something we'll keep an eye on, as well as beach erosion, two problems that never seem to go away here at the Jersey Shore. But snow and the shore, not a combination that you see too often. My only question, when's Memorial Day? I'm Joe Torres, live on the Action Cam in Atlantic City.
I think you're going to have to wait a while for that, Joe. Question for you.
Sure.
When's the last time you saw this kind of a snowstorm at the shore? I know you've been living out there for a couple of years now. Do you remember anything like this?
Well, it's 3 years that I'm here. Today is my anniversary of working at Channel 6, and in the 3 years that I've been here, never have I seen a storm like this. And it's only a couple of inches, but with your forecast and what they're asking for, the big question is, will the shore be ready for it? Only time will tell.
And you seem like you're the only person out on the boardwalk this morning. No activity, people coming in and out of the casinos at this hour?
Very little activity. We saw a couple of people walking by as we look up and down the boardwalk, wondering what we're doing out here, but that was my question for them. What are you doing out here? There are a couple of folks going back and forth, but mostly the plows have a clear shot as they go up and down the boardwalk.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe, and you stay warm out there.
Talk to you later.
Okay.
In Haverford Avenue, out here just on the edge of Philadelphia and Haverford Township. Snow's coming down here as well as you'd well expect. I want to say it's light snow. That's only halfway true. What I mean by that is that the flakes are kind of small, but there's a lot of this stuff coming down right now. Fortunately for drivers, a few of whom we see out right now at this intersection, it's not an icy snow. It's dry and powdery. If you do have to go out this morning, when you go out to your car, you'll find that this stuff brushes off your windshield real easy. We'll step out of the way here and let you take a look at some of the traffic back behind me. Go ahead, Bob. Take a look at some of the traffic out there. Fair amount of cars out here, even at this early hour on Sunday morning. But you can see the snow coming down pretty heavy. As far as driving conditions are concerned, again, it's not a real icy snow right now. So on any roads that were dry last night before the snow started, you'll find a light sort of packed snow down there. There's also some evidence on City Avenue at this hour of salting already having been done at some of the intersections, although where we're looking right now, this is the traffic coming in toward Philadelphia at City Line, and now we pan over to Haverford Avenue heading out of the city. You'll see that only some portions of this intersection appear to have been salted right now. Traffic moving relatively slow right now, which is the way it should be moving, frankly. It's not the kind of driving condition that's going to cause you a lot of problems in the way of slipping and sliding as long as you take it slow. We've seen cars get pretty good traction, even uphill as they start out here. The one thing you've got to be careful of, probably the thing you've got to be most careful of right now, in fact, is icy conditions on roads that were already icy before this snow started to fall, like the secondary roads, and also sidewalks can be a real pain in the neck right now as well. Not a whole lot of traffic out here. Like I said, a little bit more than I would have expected at this point, particularly on a day when a lot of people will probably forego church services, and we've already heard a lot of cancellations on various morning clubs and events that were scheduled for this Sunday morning later on today. Getting a little bit tangled up there. I don't want to trip my photographer right now. We've got a long day ahead of us. But not a whole lot of traffic, which is probably going to serve us pretty well today in the long haul. I think it's going to be a lot worse, obviously, if it was a Monday. Of course, the way AccuWeather and Cecily Tynan are talking, it could wind up snowing again on Monday or continuing into Monday, and I would imagine that's going to cause a much bigger problem with the large amount of traffic that we would have right here. I think the word I'll use, or the words I'll use at this point, as always, if you don't have to go out, don't go out. But if you are heading out in this case, I'd say that A, you're not going to have a big problem wiping the snow off, at least not right now, in the Philadelphia area. B, once you get out here, you should get a fair amount of traction on this packed snow. Just take it slow. No room for nutcases out here right now, Dan and Flora.
Hey, David, I know this may seem like your 6,000th storm that you've covered, but how does this compare? I know there are going to be people that are going to be tempted to compare this with the blizzard of March 93. How does that compare with March 93?
Well, so far it's early. I'd say this is similar to an early snow that we've had a lot of times over the years in Philadelphia, and certainly in the 5.5 years I've been covering. I remember sometimes when I was living here as a kid, it seemed like the snow was piled about that high, and that may have been because I was only 2.5 feet at the time that I'm remembering looking up at all this stuff. But I do remember being snowed into my house a lot when I was a kid in Delaware County. As far as covering this stuff over the last 5.5 years, so far it's similar to other things that we've seen. But, you know, you hear these AccuWeather reports like this is going to continue going on for the next 24 hours or something like that. And you can just well imagine that we're only a few hours into this right now. Hello, everybody. We've got some people honking at us. We're already into this, only just a few hours, and you've already got this much on the ground. And I'm guessing, you know, we're up to an inch or two already. I may be overshooting that a little bit, but it appears like there's a pretty good amount of snow on the ground. You know, you can only wonder about March 93. And how this is going to compare to that. I remember in March 93, we were up on Oxford Circle. At some point during the blizzard, it started to ice, and we got icy rain, and that really loused things up. If we stay with this dry snow, who knows, maybe we'll be a little bit better off here. Hey, Bob, swing around, and we'll show a car just slipping off to the side there. He tried to stop and just slipped off to the side there a little bit. So you're seeing a little bit of that when you try and hit the brakes too fast or you try and start up too fast. You see that car just slid over to the side there and its rear end just a bit. So we are seeing a little bit of that out here, but again, very light traffic, and obviously the fewer cars out there, the less chance you have of knocking into somebody else. Ought to keep the traffic low if we can today, Dan. Tell everybody to stay home unless they absolutely have to go out. We'll obviously be listening to your broadcast too, because you'll get the early word on accidents around the area. Now, if you start telling us about a number of accidents cropping up, I'm going to throw some more caution out here at folks here as well. As long as the traffic stays light, though, I think people right now anyway are going to be able to get around pretty well.
All right, Dave. Thank you very much.
David, one final question. How about you personally? How was your trip getting into work this morning?
Wasn't too bad. Got out there at about, what time did we leave, or what time did I leave the house? Maybe about a little bit before 5 o'clock this morning. The snow brushed off the windshield fine. I've got front-wheel drive, didn't slip and slide a whole lot, and I was able to actually do a fairly good cautious speed, you know, 25 miles per hour down city line. Wasn't out of the question, certainly. Not a whole lot of slipping and sliding. Now, one thing I will tell you is that there's a lot more traffic out here right now than there was when I was coming in. And, you know, even on the way in, the 7 miles or so that I drove, every now and then, maybe twice, 3 times, you had a car going by you or you wanted to pass somebody. It gets a little bit tense around there because you see the snow kind of piled up in the middle of the road. Wasn't too bad for me coming in, though. I really think the test is going to be as the snow builds this afternoon, as it gets thicker on the road, and as the traffic gets thicker as well.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Well, as you can see,
heavy snow today, throughout the day, getting heavier tonight. Then by later on tonight, winds will be gusting up towards of about 45 miles an hour. That means we will be getting some blizzard conditions. Then by tomorrow in the early morning hours, still very treacherous, still snowing and very high winds, again a blizzard, but by tomorrow afternoon the snow should be tapering off into flurries, finally ending later on tomorrow. So we do expect more of the snow to come. This is just the beginning, and if we show you on action radar, here we go. This will show the magnitude of the storm stretching all the way from New York State down into the Gulf Coast. If we put this into motion, you can see that this storm is moving very slowly. Now, AccuWeather has been predicting since the very beginning of the week that New Jersey would get more than a foot of snow. Now we've extended that back across the Delaware Valley because the snow is going, or the storm is going so slowly. The track remains the same, but since it's moving so slowly, this means that the worst is still to come. Again, the center is still down in Georgia, so we expect the snow to continue throughout. You really have to go way down into southern Virginia, into the Carolinas, to move into any rain, so we don't expect any rain from the system. But again, this is one of those days you just want to stay inside. Driving in this morning.